Hi guys, Martin here. I know some of my real good American friends are a little bit confused about why it's such a big deal that the Queen has died, and you don't quite understand it. So what I thought I'd do, I'd come and give one Brit's opinion, my own personal opinion of why it is a big deal and why it matters to the people, and why there's such a big outcry. So this is pretty much what most people see about the Queen if you're not from the UK. Okay, so this is how she is presented to the world on grand occasions with carriages and horse-drawn carts and lots of pomp, lots of circumstance, and that's the fantastic version of the Queen that is promoted, and it's the one that brings the tourism, if you like, to the UK. It's what everybody falls in love with, but that isn't the version that most Brits know. Yes, it's important. Yes, it's very good. It's good for state occasions, that sort of thing. But this is more the Queen that we knew. And as you can see, it's not unusual for her to be driving herself around. If you ever were in Scotland, in Balmoral, that sort of area, it wasn't unusual to see the Queen driving herself around. Now, she'd be surrounded by cars that were security guards, but she was very much wanted to be out there on her own. And you can see there's a couple of pictures here of her driving a Range Rover, driving Kate around. And that's the British version of the Queen that we got to know more than the American version, which is or the tourist version. And it's a reason that the Brits fall in love with the royalty is because they are of the people. Now, I wanted to bring another thing into mind. So you guys all have the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, and here we have the Pledge of Allegiance, where you have that every morning before schools. You do it before council events and big political things. And it's a fantastic thing that the nation gets together and pledges allegiance to the flag. And that's something that you guys do over here. Now, the Brits have their own version of the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me bring it up here. Now, this is taken by anybody who joins the military. I believe anybody who joins civil service, so policemen, any government issued, that sort of thing. And you can see the differences here. So the British version, you're not swearing allegiance to the flag or the Constitution, or the Republic, I should say. You swear allegiance to the monarch. Now, this is the Pledge of Allegiance that I swore when I joined the army back in 1984, something like that. Swear by Almighty God, I'll be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors. So straight away, you're not actually pledging allegiance to a flag or the country. You're pledging allegiance to the monarch, the current monarch. And this would have changed yesterday when King Charles became the king. So anybody now who joins the military or civil service, they will all pledge allegiance to King Charles III, and his heirs and successors, as it says here. So that's a big difference. Now, that sounds a bit strange. I understand that sounds a bit strange, but in return, the Queen pledged allegiance to her people. Okay, when she became Queen, she pledged allegiance to her people, as King Charles will do. So it's like a two-way thing. You're pledging allegiance to the monarch, and the monarch is saying, I pledge allegiance to you people. Now, the Queen was a brilliant leader at this because she was neutral in everything, regardless of what politics were going on, regardless of what was going on in the country. She always remained neutral, which meant that there wasn't one side over the other. And you'll notice this when it comes to world leaders, they all have great things to say about the Queen because she would never comment publicly about bad things that were going on in the world or what her opinion was. She would always remain neutral. So that meant that you felt that she was on your side. She was one of the people, regardless of which side you stood on whatever. Another reason the Brits loved her so much, during the Second World War, she was actually part of the Land Army. Okay, when she was still a princess, she wasn't the Queen at the time. Her dad was still king. And she served in the military, as did her son, as did Charles. All of the royal family are encouraged to be part of the military. Harry recently, we know, served in the Gulf War and was out there. Talking about military, in the British Army, you have commissioned officers and you have non-commissioned officers. So non-commissioned officers are the ones that haven't been through Sandhurst and haven't been promoted. Commissioned is when you are basically promoted by the Queen or the current monarch. So when an officer is saluted by a member of the British Army or Navy or Air Force, whatever it happens to be, when they are saluted, they're not being saluted, they're not saluting that officer, they are saluting the Queen's commission. Okay, so it's a respect thing to the monarch. So again, there's a difference there. When officers are saluted in the British Army, they are paying respect to the monarch and her commission, the fact that she's actually approved this person, rather than actually saluting the officer itself. And the Queen was fantastic at that. She was absolutely brilliant in the way that she led the country. She was neutral. Everybody, regardless of where you stood, everybody looked to the royal family for leadership, and everybody could look up to her. And that's one of the. She was the matriarch of the country. She was been there for 70 years. 70 years. That's like 30% of the whole of the history of the United States. She was monarch. She was reigning queen. And that's why it's hit us hard in the UK and part of Great Britain, is because we got so used to her being there. We all knew that she wasn't eternal, but we just got so used to her being the bedrock of the country. And now that she's gone, it's a new thing for us. Now, King Charles III, he's going to be a great king. Already I can see the first thing he did when he got to Buckingham Palace after coming back from Balmoral, after seeing his mother's had died, he went and greeted the people outside the palace. Is that something you could do? If your mother had just died, could you go out and speak to the public who are outside? Great thing to do. He's going to be a great leader, I'm sure. Now, what you're going to see in the very near future, over the next week, you're going to see the country in mourning. There's not going to be a lot going on politically or actively. But what you will find when it comes to the coronation, the country will come together. It will get very, very patriotic. The viewing figures for the coronation, I predict now, are going to be, they're going to make the Super Bowl look like a Tuesday afternoon soap opera. The viewing figures, it will be watched worldwide. The people will turn up in their hundreds of thousands to greet the new king, because we need it to work. We need that monarch to be the person that we can all look to lead the country without being on one side or the other of any political divide. And that's what's going to happen over the next two to 3 weeks. Is you're going to get mourning, and then you're going to get the big celebration. If you haven't got flights to England, you ain't going to get them. They're going to be through the roof. So anyway, that's one Brit's opinion of why it matters so much. Hopefully it explains a little bit of why the royal family, and in particular the reigning monarch, is so important to people, to British people, wherever we are. All right.